of Sam Pardee. It seems that he and his team went to Disneyland in between since the Pro Tour, and they went to the Mad Hatter's Emporium or Mad Hatter's shop, I forget what it's called. They rolled dice. High roll got to pick the hat. Low roll has to wear the hat for, is it the length of the Grand Prix or is it just today?
I don't know the specifics, but we'll see. Looks like Sam's off to a good enough start in the Grand Prix that we'll get to find out tomorrow probably.
Exactly. Sam, the low roller, obviously, comes out with a fleece mane lion matching Yvonne's Elvish Mystic.
Yeah, and Yvonne's deck is actually a little less Green Devotion than some, and a little bit more, Whip of Erebos, Reanimator.
Oh my.
So it's got Green Devotion, it's got Nykthos in it.
Okay.
But it also has 2 Whip of Erebos to go along with Communes and Satyr Wayfinders and Hornet Queens.
Wow.
As well as still the Doomwing Giant and Eidolon of Blossoms.
Does that all fit into the same deck?
Well, he's got like 1 Strength of the Fallen, 2 Hornet Queens, 2 Doomwake Giants, 2
Wow.
Brain Maggots, 2 Whips. So, he's 5-0, so he's won at least 2 rounds. And
wow.
it looks like he's doing pretty well here. This Thoughtseize is just, or Despise
Yes,
rather,
Despise.
is not actually going to be that devastating because he's got both Eidolon of Blossoms and Commune as kind of action cards, and he's got 4 mana in play and more in his hand. So he's got the mana and he's pretty much got the time. There's just a Fleece Man out right now.
No, we'll see if Sam has anything else to follow up with on turn 3. Oh, Thoughtseize. Sure, Despise first, into the Thoughtseize.
Yeah, Despise is a little more conditional, so you don't want to lead with that, obviously. But yeah, that does actually make Even's hand
Now he's down to
worse.
just the Wayfinder, right?
Yeah, now he's on air, but
Doomwake Giant off the top, not bad.
yeah, and I think there's just nothing wrong with slamming Doomwake. It's not like it base kills basically anything in Sam's deck, so you might as well play it as a 4/6. That's the secret second ability. It just blocks.
He attacks into it with Fleece Mane?
And
Oh, the Ulcerate!
that's it.
Is it
Yeah,
still a one of?
the one of
Was a
the
one of in
it is a-
Sigris list.
So it's got to be either the one of Ulcerate or the Bile Blight that he has there. I still think blocking there is fine. I don't think not blocking really gains you anything.
Yeah, you make him show you the trick and spend his mana on the trick.
Yeah.
It does seem reasonable.
There's somewhat of a thought to trying to race, given that Sam is at 13, and you can attack him, and the deck does a lot of damage to itself. But I guess if he hadn't cast the Ulcerate, he would have been at 16.
yeah.
And Sam's deck's a lot more suited to racing. It has cards, like Herald of Torment, and it has cards like Siege Rhino. So you don't really want to get into a situation where you're trying to race. The Reanimator deck, the Devotion deck, whatever you want to call it, it does a lot better if it can just sit there and, not race, try to make as many trades as possible and just start casting Hornet Queens or Whips. With 4 Commune, 2 Whip, you've got access to a lot of that. Same with Hornet Queens, Hornet Queen, Whip, and Commune also all synergize very well together. So.
Yeah, there is now a Hornet Queen in the graveyard. He just spilled one there with the Wayfinder. So whips are awesome. Herald, Lion takes to the skies.
And
6/6 flying.
And
Boom.
Herald is exactly the card Sam wants in this matchup. It just flies over to Sylvan Wayfinder or Satyr Wayfinders. It forces Ivan to have a Hornet Queen or a Whip in very short order because there's not a whole lot else he can do. Though he actually is running the full 4 Murderous Cuts in his deck as well. And Murderous Cut would have been a fantastic draw here. A turn later and it's going to be a little less good if Sam chooses to go Monstrous though.
Yeah, indestructibility. Giving the Policeman line indestructible will definitely stop some of Ivan's outs. Also, attacking for 6 in the air cuts those outs down pretty quickly.
And even if
Ivan basically needs to hit right now on this draw phase.
And even if Sam wants to go Monstrous, the clock doesn't change if you do it now versus later, so I think waiting is good.
Yeah.
He also doesn't necessarily know that Even's got Whips, though I would imagine it's not too hard to guess.
He goes for the Death Dealer. Shields down on the Fleece Mane Lion, so Murderous Cut counts. Satyr Wayfinder not going to get it done.
Yeah, and I don't think casting it and showing more of your deck is really what you want to do either.
Precisely. Wow.
Oh.
Abzan Aggro does what it is designed to do.
Yeah, Herald of Torment. Can't help but laugh after seeing the hat again, but Herald of Torment, that is why the card's in the deck. It just, makes it so your threats are not only huge, but they can't be blocked by the multitude of green creatures that tend to populate the ground.
I want to see that hat in a trophy shot. I find myself suddenly rooting for Sam Pardee. It'd be a nice trophy shot.
It's interesting what Sam does on after board here because he has cards like Erase and Unravel the Aether, and you saw a Doomwake Giant. I don't know how effective those cards are against the actual game plan of Ivan, but given that you think he's got Whip of Erebos, you saw a Hornet Queen too.
And you saw Eidolon.
Yeah. How many
Eidolon tells you there's a decent number of enchantments in the list.
How many enchant removal spells would you bring in? I imagine that Sam will bring in both, but it's interesting. You have to try to see how much information you can derive from what cards you saw as to what else someone could be playing, especially when they're playing a deck that's like kind of off the radar.
How good is Hunt the Hunter in this matchup?
I actually don't know if it's great. It kills Corsair of Crewfix or Eidolon, which
Yep.
you can assume both are present, but that's about it. You can't kill Sylvan Caryatid. You don't care that much about killing Elvish Mystic, certainly not about killing Satyr Wayfinder, and it's fairly ineffective against Hornet Queen. So I wouldn't
All
be
right.
surprised if Sam wanted just a more direct kill spell.
Well, while these guys are sideboarding for game 2, we're going to take a live look in the match between Martin Juza and Matt Sperling. Looks like Juza's on Jeskai. That doesn't surprise me. What is Matt playing?
It looks like a mono green devotion, actually. He's got,
Wow.
he's got Wooded Foothills and Windswept Heath in the graveyard, but he's declined to go for anything other than Beta Forest. So it could be that he's just got no off-color cards and just playing fetch lands for their interaction with Corsair, which is a good interaction.
Yes. Yeah, even Mono Green wants to play fetch lands. I
And
certainly
as
agree
you
with
saw,
that.
he just got to hit a land drop when he wasn't going to before. Yeah, he's got the full amount of devotion, and Martin does not have a ton of cards in hand.
Is that Arbor Colossus in play alongside the Corsair and the Mystic?
Soon to be a Genesis Hydra.
You think he's going to hit anything?
Well, he's hitting for 9, and
And there's Pelucranos
Pelucranos
already on
on
top.
top.
Worst case scenario here is Pelucranos. I guess Hornet Queen's probably is better.
yeah, if you hit Hornet Queen, which you did, you're going to want to slam that.
Jeez.
Martin's pretty dead, unless Sperling's at very low life, given that he gained 2 off Corsair. That's not, incredibly like. I guess he gained 1 off sacking the fetch.
Yeah, studying those cards, that looks like Martin's in gather information mode to me.
Yeah, I mean, the Jeskai deck can present a lot of burn. I mean, it is realistic to go end of turn, burn you for 7, untap, do something else, but it doesn't look like that's happening.
Nah, that's not happening. All right, Matt Sperling takes a 1-0 lead against Martin Juza. These guys are 5-0, so the winner will be 6-0, sitting in pretty good shape. Meanwhile, Ivan and Sam still working on figuring out how to sideboard for game 2.
The Obzon sleeves are on the wrong deck here.
Does anybody ever wear the right sleeves on their
Well,
deck?
Willie did. Willie was playing Obzon and had
And
Obzon
just
sleeves.
admitted it?
Yeah, I guess he figures everyone already knows, so he's not really concealing information. But
It's also a kind of a mistell, right? Since nobody runs
Right.
the on-clan sleeves. Your opponent will never put you on Obzon if you wear Obzon sleeves, unless you're Willie Adel.
yeah, Ivan.
That is so ridiculous.
Yeah. Looks like the Doomwake Giants might not be in the deck anymore, which makes sense to me. I mean, Doomwake Giant, when it doesn't kill anything when it comes down, 5 mana 4/6 is more of a limited card than a constructed card. So you really need to be getting that extra value
Yep.
to make it worth it. Certainly does a number on cards like Hornet Queen, though, and Elspeth.
Definitely. Yeah, Hornet Queen seems like you have to be able to deal with Hornet Queens. You can't really show up to play Standard these days. I mean, the Green Devotion deck is running around. It didn't do well at the Pro Tour, but we've still seen it on camera a couple of times now.
Yeah.
We've seen Hornet Queens in both of these matchups.
Like I was saying before, Green Devotion seems like a decent reaction if people are on Obzon. Like, against the Obzon decks that don't have Herald of Torment, you can do a pretty good job of just clogging up the ground and letting your more powerful late game kind of take effect. And apparently the chat says that Kibble was playing with Teamer sleeves, so we've got another vote for proper clan identification.
Got it. What do you think of his teamer list? Marshall and I were talking about it. Marshall's a big fan.
Well, we tested it for the Pro Tour. I mean, he showed up, and that's the deck he was kind of set on. I think it certainly has the capability of being great. I don't know if it's tuned to the point where it needs to be, because
Okay.
there's a lot of card options you can do.
Yep.
And one of the things I liked about the Teamer list is it has so many cards that are good when you have a threat in play. Like, Teamer Charm is awesome, Stubborn Denial is awesome, Crater's Claws is a really good finisher, and as you saw in his game 1, you can play it and a Knuckleblade on turn 3 with the Elf.
Right.
And that sort of, having your Shock also be a Fireball is very, very efficient. That being said, it doesn't play out well from behind. When you don't have any creatures in play, leaving up Teamer Charm is just not that great. It costs so much mana, and Stubborn Denial does way less. So if you can figure out a way to make sure your Savage Knuckleblade lives most of the games, then you're in pretty good shape. But when it didn't have that card in play, it felt like, I don't know, it was
he's-
having an uphill battle.
He's raised the number of Boon Satyrs this week.
Yeah.
It seems like Boon Satyr is, I think, his answer there. He can drop it at instant speed. He can leave up mana to, burn a Rabble Master before the combat step, and if there's no Rabble Master, then drop it end step. I don't know. I think that's the card that he's just
Yeah, he had
increased now.
3 at the Pro Tour, I think.
Oh, he had 3? I thought he had 2.
Maybe he has 4.
He's got fully 4 now.
Yeah,
He's
I guess I
definitely
don't know
on
his
4 now.
exact final list. I know he had 3 in his list for a while.
Got it.
The other thing I guess that I like about the list is that it could easily fit in dig through time, and I don't think he's done that yet.
We were talking about that's what he lost game 1 to, basically.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think maybe
Should he be
doesn't-
running dig?
Maybe he doesn't want to run a ton of them, but like he's got Lightning Strike, Teamer Charm, Crater's Claws. He's got a decent amount of spells, and some of them are very good spells to dig into.
Yeah.
Much like every other spell in Magic. Looks like a very solid hand for Even here. I mean, turn 2 Caryatid into Courser is almost always good, and the fact that he's got Whip of Erebos to back that up is pretty nice.
And he's on the play against an aggro deck. All right, Sam plays a Temple of his own. Ships to the bottom.
Yeah, I would classify Abzan as an aggro deck, or this version of it, but it's still one of the slower aggro decks.
It's what passes for aggro in the current standard.
Yeah. I mean, there aren't very many 1-mana 2/1s in this format, and so
Right.
the deck that's going to play 1 or 2 hard-hitting threats is, I guess, considered an aggro deck because it attacks their life total.
Yeah, I mean, it's got 10 2-drops. Does not play Courser Caryatid because they don't attack.
Yeah, that's probably the most defining part of it being aggro is that it's not playing Courser Caryatid.
Exactly.
That its game plan is different enough that it doesn't want those.
Exactly. And here's the turn 2 Fleece Mane Lion. Can attack through the Caryatid. Gonna get bricked by this Courser, though.
Yeah. In a sequence we've seen many, many times, you play the Courser, then you play the land.
What's on top?
That's a Murderous Cut. It's not a whole lot to delve from right now, but Even can actually just pay 5 mana for it. And that's part of the strength of the card is that it's often Swords to Plowshares, but you know you can pay 5 for it and you don't feel that bad if it's going to Hero's Downfall would use your turn too. So
Sam's attacking the Fleece Mane in. Yvonne says, "I'll block."
no fear of the Abzan Charm.
No fear of the Abzan Charm. He could have gotten blown out by Abzan Charm there, but didn't want to just take the damage, and Sam didn't have a trick, so
I wonder
he
if
adds
Yvonne-
Anafenza to his board.
Yeah, which is another good follow-up, especially against a deck playing Whip of Erebos.
Oh, that's a great point. Yeah, Anafenza's anti-graveyard ability really going to kick in here.
I wonder if Yvonne would have blocked had he not had access to Murderous Cut or knew he was drawing it. Because if he gets charmed there, at least he can just untap and cut the lion, and you did a 2 for 2.
Good point.
But if you didn't have that, then you risk running into a 5/5 from now on.
All right, Anafenza gets the Murderous Cut.
Well, that's the card that ultimately is going to cause more problems.
Oh yeah, for sure. And there's another one on top of his library.
Yeah, and doing that pre-combat, of course, makes it so she doesn't get to grant the lion a ++1 counter. Sam not bothering with the bluff this time.
Down comes Siege Rhino. Rawr.
Yeah, Siege Rhino is a big game. Yvonne really needs to find a Seder Wayfinder or Commune to get this whip going. Right now, the whip's not really doing anything. I mean, I expect him this turn to scry Elvish Mystic to the bottom with the Temple, and then maybe just Murderous Cut the Lion right now, just to not
The Lion
deal
or
with
the
it being
Rhino?
monstrous. I would imagine that the Lion is ultimately more dangerous because it can go monstrous, but it also depends what his top card is.
His top card is Eidolon of Blossoms, I think.
Eidolon Blossom means that he doesn't care as much about the Lion because he can just potentially chump, whip it back, draw an extra card, gain 2 life while doing so. So that leans him towards killing the Rhino. He also wants to make sure he doesn't get hit by Herald of Torment this turn. So
Yeah, well, he has allowed Sam to get a 5th land into play. And now, yeah, this block's pretty nice, right? Because he blocks with the Courser. If Sam goes for the monstrous ability, he can cut as a response.
yeah, but Sam knows about the Murderous Cut, so Sam's not going to do that unless he has absolutely nothing. And even then, just passing forces even to kill the Rhino instead of the Lion if he wants to use his
Or
mana.
kill nothing, which is what he does.
Oh wow,
Unravel the Aether.
killing the Courser and shuffling away the Eidolon.
Yeah, he brought it in. There's your answer.
Yep.
And it looks quite good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised to see him bring it in there. He didn't see a ton of Ivan's deck, but the cards he saw implied so many other cards.
Exactly. He saw the Eidolon. He saw, Seder Wayfinder. He's got to suspect Whip at that point. All right, well, Sam Pardee has maneuvered these last couple turns in a really nice spot for him. I mean, Yvonne was the one on Courser Caryatid, but suddenly I like Sam's board.
Well,
Wait a second. Let me revise that.
a hardcast Hornet Queen is going to make that a little different.
I did not know about the Hornet Queen hiding in Yvonne Flock's hand.
So now-
What exactly does Abzan Aggro do about Hornet Queen?
There is a non-zero possibility that Sam brought in a couple Drown in Sorrows, because it doesn't kill any of his creatures except Rakshasa, which he can then save, and it kills Hornet Queen and all the Hornets. So you're so weak to Hornet Queen that he might have just done that. I mean, I haven't played with the Abzan aggro deck enough to know if that's a common plan, but I wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, he does have 3 copies of Drown in Sorrow in his sideboard. Like, what else are they there for?
I mean, if
They're
you play
there
against
to-
like the mono red deck, I guess,
I guess.
or a tokens-based deck. But Hornet Queen makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think they're probably there for Hornet Queen. And like you say, here it would wrath Yvonne's board. I mean, drop into a Caryatid anyway, and Sam's creatures all live through it.
So, Yvonne can force Sam to Monstrous the Lion here
By blocking?
by
He
blocking with
should,
a
right?
1/1. He
You
could
just want to take it?
He's at 16, so he could easily take a hit, and he has to figure that Sam might end up monstering the Lion at some point anyway. Given that Yvonne's got Whip in his hand, I actually don't hate just not blocking and just playing Whip and just attacking for like 5, leaving 1 back to block Siege Rhino, something along those lines.
If he's going to whip, isn't there some value to blocking with the queen herself? Get her into the graveyard?
You can. I think that's going to happen pretty much at some point, no matter what. So you
All
might as well wait till Sam goes monstrous.
Well, Yvonne went no blocks, and Sam did go monstrous to get the extra point of damage in and to get the hexproof ability turned on while Yvonne was tapped out.
One of the advantages of blocking is you force Sam to tap his mana, but if you think he's going to do it anyway, you
Right.
you don't need to do that then.
Well, here's the Wayfinder you wanted. Any more fuel for the whip?
Farika, God of Affliction, she actually would be active now thanks to the Hornet Queen.
Crazy.
So, plus the whip once that comes out. So that's a 10-point life swing. She gets to smash for 5. Maybe you even activate her once or twice if you've got extra ammunition.
So what's your line here if you're Yvonne?
He could probably, pick cards at random from his hand and he would win. But I would play the whip and I would attack. Maybe leave one of the flyers back, but I think I would attack with all of them but one. The interesting decision is whether you leave Hornet Queen or not back. I think given that you have a whip out, maybe now you leave Hornet Queen back. You get extra value blocking this turn instead of last turn because now she's got lifelink.
Sure.
But I like setting in at least 3 of the tokens. I might send in the 4th token. Yvonne's playing, I guess, a little conservative just to make sure a removal spell on Hornet Queen doesn't give him no blocks. But he can still chump with Wayfinder if he needs to. So either way, he's in very good shape. So unless Sam, even if Sam actually does have Drown in Sorrow, we're probably going to go to game 3 here.
How about Anafenza?
Anafenza helps a lot, because now the block with Hornet Queen is a lot less appealing.
Right. Just the Fleecebane Lion, the indestructible Fleecebane Lion going in.
It looks like Murderous Cut on Anafenza before
Sure.
combat resolves here.
Leaving Farika in the graveyard.
Yeah, basically cashing in Seder Wayfinder for not only 5 life, but also the ability to whip him back and fill your graveyard with more action.
But there's the erase, so Whip of Erebos goes down.
That's big. Sam having the erase that turn actually makes this game at least somewhat winnable. He's still at a disadvantage, but he's not at as big of one because now we're kind of racing Hornet Queen versus Fleecebane that's monstrous and can't get blocked forever, so it's not actually as bad as it could be.
Yeah, it's 6 power in the air versus 9 power or 8 power on the ground.
Yeah, with you leaving maybe having to leave one of the Hornets back to block the Siege Rhino.
Well, here's a Courser for Flock. Now he's going to be gaining life. This doesn't seem like a race Sam can win without dealing with the Hornets or the Queen somehow.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Again, it's closer than it was before. Now it's actually a race that's winnable. Before it was just a bloodbath. But
now we're down to 1 threat he needs to deal with, but that, unfortunately for Sam, that threat comes in 5 pieces.
Yeah, and that's going to be a little more difficult, especially if Sam, again, did choose to bring in Drown in Sorrow or not. So Sam's dead in like 3 hits, but Evan's got a lot more turns than that, especially if he can trade off for the Siege Rhino. Sam basically has the option to trade Siege Rhino for a 1/1 Death Touch at any point.
Right.
So I think he's going to hold out in case he draws Bile Blight. That's the other card that answers Hornet Queen fairly well.
Sure. Flock chump blocks with a Caryatid. Sam adds a second Fleecebane Lion to his board with 5 mana available so he can monstrous it.
Fleecebane Lion's a powerful card. It's doing a lot of work here. Sam's still kind of on the losing end of this race, especially since Yvonne's got a stream of Wayfinders to chump with as well. But having 2 monstrous Fleecebane Lions means you're going to grind out Hornet Queen. Like, even actually has to kill you. You can't just sit back and be defensive.
Sam on 13. It's going to take 3 attacks, at least.
And that's assuming Sam, again, doesn't draw Bioblight, which I guess he's only got 1 of main, 2 of board if you wanted to bring those in. Though if you're bringing Bioblight, I almost think Drown's better, because they're for the same card, and Drown's a little bit better at that, whereas Bioblight doesn't really kill anything else that Drown doesn't kill. I suppose it's slightly better against Courser if they block one of your 2-drops.
All right, even Flock trying to force a game 3. He had everything. Sam has been whittling away, and now Flock is down to the Hornet Queen, essentially. Flies over for 5 through the air, dropping Sam Pardee down to 8.
And now he's got Windswept Teeth, which he can choose to shuffle away a Commune, but I actually like Commune on top there. I think Commune's a powerful enough card that you'd rather just keep Commune, because that essentially gives you, it's two mana, like, look at, almost a draw 5 in that you get to pick the best of 5 cards, because all the cards he's looking for now get hit by Commune.
2 indestructible Fleece Main Lions coming in. Flock is going to start chump blocking with those Hornets. The indestructible beats Death Touch, of course.
And now that Sam does nothing and gets attacked down to 3, he's going to be in a pretty tough spot. Especially since he even also didn't cast Satyr Wayfinder last turn because he did not want to mill the Commune.
Wow. All right, well, here's the Commune. What does he get?
At the very least, a Sylvan Caryatid, but probably better than that.
Looks like the Eidolon.
Yeah, he's got enough mana that he'd rather just cast Eidolon. You get to chain Eidolon into Pharika here.
Oh, jeez.
He's got enough mana and he's got enough devotion if things don't, go wrong for the Hornet Queen. And again, he even can just shuffle at any time thanks to the Windswept Teeth. And also the Satyr Wayfinder if he wants to play that.
Well, here is the Eidolon of Blossoms, which allows him to draw a card, which we know is Pharika. Looks like a Courser now on top of his library. He can play Pharika, triggering the Eidolon, drawing the Courser.
Hasn't played a land yet.
Just getting farther. Yeah, tons and tons of value. Pair of indestructible 4/4s, but it looks like Yvonne can attack over. Sam basically has 1 turn left to come up with an answer to the Flyers, because he cannot get through on the ground for 14 points of damage in time.
And even found another whip on top. So even if he wasn't winning the race, he would just win off the whip next turn. Sam now down to 4. Assuming he doesn't have anything, but the way he attacked last turn, if he had a Bioblight, he would have smashed with the Siege Rhino for sure.
Yeah.
And of course, the Windswept Heath tapping for mana because of Urborg, as people in the chat have begun to question. There's almost always an Urborg in play. If you ever see a fetch land tap, just assume there's an Urborg floating around somewhere. Though actually, at the Pro Tour once, I was walking by a match and someone just cast a spell, and I'm like, there isn't actually Urborg in play. You actually have to sacrifice that. But that's an easy fix. They just gotta land.
Yeah. Sam lining it up. There's not a whole lot he can represent or bluff here.
Yeah, and
Yvonne's gonna attack for 4 power worth of Flyers next turn.
Yeah, not only is he gonna do that, he's gonna play Whip first. He might even attack with more. Like, once you have a Whip out, attacking with Pharika's nice. Also, Pharika can just block a Fleeceman line right now. So Sam isn't really in a spot where he could do a whole lot. Herald of Torment doesn't even do it because there's a Wasp back, and because it just wouldn't be enough damage. It would hit for 7 damage at the most, and that's still only half of his life total.
Yeah, Sam goes through his options, and none of them work out. None of them even buy him another draw phase, so scoops them up. Time to think about game number 3. Update on the back table, by the way, we've got a match going on between Brad Nelson and Fabrizio Anteri, who are also headed to game 3. So, game of peace between them. Brad's deck looks pretty cool. I don't know if do we have the deck list?
They apparently got...
Oh, that was the one that had a deck check. So
they got deck checks, so we don't have their decks quite yet.
Oh, we have a live look-in? A live look-in, this is probably going to be Sperling and Juza.
Sperling up a game in...
I believe this is game 2, yes? Should be game 2.
And given that Sperling's got a pair of Genesis Hydras
wow.
and a Nylea's Disciple, though that was, I assume, not as effective if that Hushwing Gryph was in play.
Life totals are 10 apiece. Yeah, Sperling turning a bunch of stuff with a bunch of dice on it sideways. I gotta think that's good for the Green Devotion side of this matchup.
Martin needs to chump one of the Hydras, burn Sperling, gain some life off his Seeker, untap, attack, burn Sperling again. If he has two 4-point
not
burn spells, he
undoable.
might actually win. Especially since Sperling can't play another Disciple because of the Griff. And we actually see a Jeskai Charm there, so Martin actually, all he needs is a second burn spell and to hope Sperling doesn't play an Arbor Colossus.
Right, so if he puts Seeker of the Way in front of the biggest Hydra, and then burns Sperling for 4, the Seeker picks up lifelink, he'll gain 3 life, offsetting enough of the other damage. I mean, even if he doesn't have it in his hand now, that's still probably the right line.
And it's possible that Martin has 2 spells this turn, in which case he can actually, if he wants, take a risk and block like Elvish Mystic, cast his 2 spells, gain 4 life, go to 14, and then take 13 and go to 1. Or if he has 1 spell, he can just block the 3/3 instead, and then take 11 but gain 3, so go to 2.
Yeah, I mean, if he has 2 spells, he blocks the Disciple, right?
Yeah, I would imagine that that's slightly better. If he has 1 spell,
Ooh.
no, I guess he's just on killing the elf. Interesting.
If he's got 1 spell, does he survive? Is he gonna...
Oh, it looks like he's stoking the Hydra. He's not going for the
Interesting.
win. If Sperling's actually at 10, then he could have gone for the win because his other card is Jeskai Charm. He basically takes, 6 going to 4 here. And it looks like going for the win would not have worked out if Sperling now goes to 11.
All right, Martin's got to figure out how much he can attack with here. Courser is pretty good at blocking Seeker, although 2 spells would kill it.
And Martin's also at 4, so he's not in a spot where he can...
He needs to chump the Genesis Hydra is what that adds up to.
Yeah, unless he's doing something that involves killing one of Matt's creatures. But if Martin's at 4, so he gets to block Genesis Hydra, cast his Jeskai Charm, basically just take 2 going to 2. So he still survives.
Wow.
Martin, if he's not attacking with Hushwing Griff, he's not in great shape here.
Agreed. Courser reveals a Mystic on top of Matt Sperling's library. He just gets to turn his creature sideways
He
again.
just sacrificed Nykthos to gain a life there. That's pretty good. Just play the second one with Courser in play and not tap it for mana or anything. So I imagine all of Matt's
right.
plays involve attacking with everything. here.
Yeah, and I will keep you updated on how this turns out, but I want to get back to game 3 between Sam Party and Ivan Flock.
Perfect timing.
Rakshasa Death Dealer comes down on turn 2.
It's the first play of the game.
Exactly. So Sam out on the front foot, pretty solid 2-drop. Death Dealer, I think, really does a lot of work stitching this Abzan aggro deck together because it's good on turn 2, but it's also pretty good on turn 6.
Yeah, and that's actually kind of a theme with the Abzan deck's cards. It's got a lot of cards that are good early and good late. I mean, it's
And
true of
here's-
Fleeceman Line and Anafenza, Herald.
So what do you take with this Brain Maggot if you're Ivan Flock?
Oh, almost for sure the Anafenza, just because it disrupts Sam's curve. You can't save the Brain Maggot from dying to Hero's Downfall, but you can at least force Sam to waste his turn 3 doing so. Rakshasa, you'd rather play is the 2-drop rather play least. Lion is much stronger, but it's still again necessary, and it again fits the theme because it's strong in pretty much all situations, even though it's rarely amazing until the late game.
Sam does go for a land that comes into play untapped so that he can spend his turn 3 on the Hero's Downfall. Down goes Brain Maggot, and Anafenza back in hand.
I think Sam is taking the risk that Even's got a second Brain Maggot by killing the first one and getting Anafenza back, but it's probably ultimately better to do that than take a point of damage, because a point of damage may matter a lot more, whereas the odds that Even's got a second Brain Maggot isn't huge.
Courser revealing a land.
Someone
But
said
they already played a land this
Said
time.
yeah, to play Courser when you don't have a land drop.
Okay.
Courser also doesn't block the Rakshasa, but I think Even's at a high enough life total, he's willing to take a hit here, play Courser, and then play every turn with the Courser in play, which
Right.
gives you, a kind of, incremental card advantage, especially if he's assuming Sam's going to do what he did.
Down comes Anafenza. Sam adds a 4/4 to his board.
And Sam could have Hero's Downfall the Courser, but he just wants to apply pressure, which actually I think works well for Even, because it looks like he has his one copy of Hero's Downfall in hand.
Oh, jeez. Is that another Corsair on top?
Looks like a second Corsair. Even could, he could play out like an Eidolon of Blossoms or Farika, but that seems needlessly aggressive here. I think you do want to just kill Anafenza because she represents 5 points of damage here.
So what do you think of this greenback Constellation deck now that you've seen it a little bit?
I like what it's doing. I don't know if it's better to play more Constellation cards or more Reanimator cards.
Or more Devotion cards.
Or more Devotion cards. Just like he's balancing kind of 3 similar but related themes here, and I don't know if that's better than going deep on any one of them. So I'd actually have to play with it a little more to find out. Like all the cards are powerful, and there's synergies that work in every direction. Right. But like Eidolon is good for all 3 of the themes, that sort of thing. But I wonder if too often you're going to end up with like kind of being decent at doing 3 different things instead of being really good at doing one. Maybe the card set rewards you for the second more than the first.
Well, Flock agreed with your line. He pointed Hero's Downfall at Anafenza. Wow. Backup Anafenza. That wasn't there when Brain Maggot revealed Sam's hand. And a Fleecemane Lion. That is quite the turn 5.
No, this is actually not great for Even here. He knows that Sam has another Hero's Downfall waiting, and regardless of what Even plays, Sam's going to get to crash with all his creatures basically without fear. So Even's also going to miss a land drop this turn, which is kind of unfortunate when you have a Corsair in play. It always feels like, something went wrong. Though I suppose if Even plays Eidolon of Blossoms, he can hope a land is second from the top. But if you do that, especially knowing the Hero's Downfall, you're consigning yourself to taking, 10 damage at the very least. So that's a rough spot to be in.
Does go Eidolon. Survey says not a land.
Elvish Mystic's like a forest, but it's not the card you wanted to see here.
Yeah, turn him sideways. Crunch everything into the red zone.
Make it so Lion even gets to get past Corsair without going monstrous. Rakshasa, of course, gets past everything. So,
update on that other match. Matt Sperling did win that game against Martin Juza, so Sperling wins the match 2-0.
Yeah, it looked like he was winning that one.
Yeah, definitely. No miracles. Martin falls to 5-1. Now, how does Flock block?
If you didn't know about the Hero's Downfall, you could maybe construct a double block like on Anafenza, for example. Given that you do, you can take 14 and go to 1 if Sam makes the Rakshasa 6/6. Maybe that's the best. Both your cards provide value if you don't block, so I think Even's probably just not going to block here, even though you can take a ton of damage. Urborg making those Caves of Koilos a little less painful. Urborg's quite good in the aggro deck, and that actually Sam's playing 2, whereas most decks just play the 1 Urborg.
Right.
Sam actually wants to draw it.
Yeah, the Death Dealer is the one that's always been super impressive. Like you can use Plains to activate Rakshasa Death Dealer. All right. Well, so inside of Flock's draw phase, once Sam sees that there's a land on top, he decides to use his Hero's Downfall on the Corsair, making sure that Flock doesn't get the chance to play that land for value. No life, no land in play. It's pretty disruptive play there from Sam.
Yeah, and Flock could play a second Corsair, but then he'd draw the Forest off the Eidolon, which is still fine, that's good, but he gets a little less value of Corsair if his next card isn't also a land. Of course, playing a Corsair
What other line does he have? I mean, Corsair, he can play the Mystic also.
He's got Caryatid and Elvish Mystic, so he could play those, but at this point he's just in damage control. I think he needs to play the Corsair here.
Yeah, I think so too.
He's at the very least going to be able to cast Caryatid or Elvish Mystic.
Right. Draws the Forest, sees Murderous Cut.
Murderous Cut is something he needed before. That would have been fairly effective, because now Even has to block all 3 creatures. He's just going to lose 3 creatures this turn.
Yeah, all 3 creatures hit for 4.
And Sam's going to lose nothing. They're not even going to go to the
literally
graveyard.
chump, chump, chump.
Yeah, and if Sam has any removal spell, he wins. Herald of Torment obviously wins. Anafenza spreading out the counters.
Chump, 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 says Ivan.
And Siege Rhino is going to do it, because Ivan knows his next card.
All right, Sam Pardee. He goes to 6-0. Abzone Aggro that took his teammate Mike Sigrist into the top 4 of the Pro Tour has worked for him here. Gets him to 6-0. Ivan Flock picks up his first loss with pretty cool deck. Combination of Devotion, Constellation, but did not get the job done here.
And another interesting thing to think about is if Sam wins this tournament, which we're still pretty far away from, but let's say he does, Do you think he wears the hat at the next tournament? I mean, how do you put it? How do you put it down?
It's like a King of the Hill hat.
Exactly. Like when you win a tournament and have something awesome happen, you're gonna look for Lucky Charms when you can find them.
I don't know. We still don't know if the bet was a day one bet or the whole GP.
Yeah, we're going to have to find out tomorrow, because unless Sam loses his next 3 rounds, he is going to get to play tomorrow.
True. All right, so we've got 3 results. We don't have a result yet from Brad Nelson and Fabrizio and Terry yet. I think we're going to try to get an angle on the denouement of their game 3. So Brad's deck is Mardu.
Okay, he's just...
Well, he took the red-white token stack that he was playing at the Pro Tour, and he's essentially splashing black in order to get, also Mardu cards. He gets the Crackling Doom, he gets the Butcher, and he gets to play Thoughtseize. So he seems pretty excited about it. He and Patrick Dickman had kind of stitched this together, and I know both of them are actually running it here this weekend.
And Brad hasn't lost yet, so it seems like a good place to be. Though we're still pretty early in the tournament, just having your deck, start out 2-0 is slight proof of concept.
Feels a lot better, yeah. Well, we're just in time for the handshake. Who won? I see Butcher in play.
Well, Brimaz had some tokens.
Dueling Brimazes.
Well, we'll find out momentarily, but it looked like a defensive Butcher, though, so that is generally not a good sign.
Yeah, the Butcher was untapped.
No, it looks like Brad won. If he's.
Oh yeah, the 2 is on. Brad Nelson wins 2 games to 1, so Butcher the Horde got there. Wow, Mardu with 3. Maybe there is a Mardu deck.
Yeah, I mean there are certainly some powerful cards, and it's definitely something that I would imagine this weekend will help determine.
Yeah, the other powerful thing I was talking to Brad between rounds. He gets to play Sorin with all the tokens.
Yeah.
Remember, he was essentially a red-white token stack
right.
last week at the Pro Tour. So by adding the black, he gets to add Sorin for the +1 lifelink. He gets to add Butcher the Horde. I don't know. Seems content.
I mean, it's like a lot of other decks in Standard. It's playing a lot of powerful cards. So if those powerful cards line up well against the powerful cards your opponents play, yeah, I could certainly see it doing well.
Certainly one to keep an eye on. Hey, Brad seems to be simultaneously really enjoying this Standard and also like frustrated that he can't break it.
Well,
he's the kind of guy that prides himself, I think, on his ability to play Standard specifically.
Right, and I think Brad knows what he's talking about when it comes to Standard, but I think it's also Standard. Like, Standard hasn't been broken in years.
I don't believe like anyone really breaks Standard. Like, it's just a hard format to break because it's not big enough that there's going to be something that everyone misses, and it's going to be more on the lines of tuning your deck and picking the metagame correctly. Those are skills Brad definitely has.
Yeah, I was going to say breaks is maybe not the right word. The thing that I think Brad really prides himself on is his ability to be a step ahead of the metagame.
Yes.
Is to be able to predict, this weekend at this tournament, the metagame's going to go this way, and so I want to be over here.
Right.
And that's something that, his results at Standard Grand Prix are really impressive over the course of the last couple of years. So we do have we have our turbo match. We're going to have one more match. Turbo match is also the King of the Hill table. It's Eugene Huang has been defending that title. Won the last Grand Prix, so he started out King of the Hill having won Orlando. And he has not left the feature match area yet. His opponent this round, though, Alexander Hayne.
Yep.
Is Hayne on the aggro list?
Actually, Hayne's on Jeskai, it looks like. So. And he's got 4 dig-through times, so I approve of that.
Oh, he's also got your Nullify tech.
Yeah, it looks like...
I didn't see anybody doing that except you guys in the Pro Tour.
Yeah, it looks like this is close. Yeah, I don't think anyone else did at the Pro Tour, but now the lists are out. I think this looks closer to what we played at the Pro Tour. Well, my team did. I did not.
Right. Yeah, you played the combo deck, right?
I did.
So we'll get the turbo match queued up. If you didn't see this a couple of rounds ago, we've essentially been recording sort of the 4th table in the feature match area. We'll play it back on super fast speed because we want to make sure we get the end of the match before the next round starts.
Right.
So we'll put it on sort of triple speed and try our best to keep track of what's going on in this match between Eugene Huang and Alexander Hayne. So how does this matchup play? It's
well, this is again
Eugene is on the Sidisi whip deck, right?
A deck with 4 Whip of Erebos against Jeskai, which is I think where you want to be. So
Whip seems really good against Jeskai.
Yeah, Whip and Sidisi both are fairly effective. Sidisi can get killed by Lightning Strike or bounced by Jeskai Charm. Actually, it's pretty funny if she gets Jeskai Charm because then she mills herself with her own ability.
And turns into a zombie, right?
Well, no, because if she's not in play,
not there to trigger.
She has to actually be in play to trigger.
Oh, the first ability triggers.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So Jeskai certainly has answers, but in general, Whip is one of the cards we found to be strongest against Jeskai.
Yeah, life gain just seems super powerful when
It is.
one of your opponent's primary ways to win the game is just burn 16, 20
Every
points
time
of
you
burn.
hit, it's like one of their 4 damage burn spells just ceases to exist.
All right, sounds like we're ready. Let's watch Eugene Huang and Alexander Hayne. Turbo Edition. Is that both players? Turbo Mulligans. Yeah, I was saying I thought both players drew hands, but it looks like they're both going down to 6. Seems fair.
Yeah,
I don't know
it
if
works
that
out.
advantages one player or the other. Face-to-face leads. I'm pretty sure it's Hayne on the left, Huang at the top, toward the top of the screen.
We've switched since the last time we saw the Turbo match, or last time I saw Huang play in the Turbo match.
He's not in the same seat. If you're king of the hill, don't you just always want the same seat?
I guess not. Maybe he's not superstitious.
All right, off to the races. Mountain on turn 1.
Yeah, which again reveals that Hayne does not have any Mystic Monasteries or Temples in his hand. Which isn't a great place to be, because then you start drawing them like on turn 2, like you just did.
Both players push to the bottom with their temples.
I like fetch lands in the Turbo match. Wayfinder, not what you want. You'd rather have a Caryatid on turn 2, but Wayfinder's still fine. Picking up an Opulent Balance isn't the worst.
You are a whip deck at the end of the day, right?
And it looks like Hayne's got a Rabblemaster to play here, unless he's got a Mance Rider as well. Rabblemaster seems like, a very solid play. Like, even though Huang has a creature out, you at least trade for it.
Sure. Yeah, that seems fine.
Looks like Murderous Cut is flying out of his hand.
And an Eldritch Mystic.
Yeah, that was a good turn. You get to play a tap land, a Murderous Cut, and a 1-drop.
Not bad.
That's part of the reason Murderous Cut is awesome. It's just so efficient.
Well, here comes another one.
Yeah, I think Huang's in pretty
Next
good shape
turn.
here.
Oh, wow, he spills it. Rather play a Wayfinder and get a land.
Interesting. Huang doesn't have great blocks. I think if you block with the Centaur, then you could be in a spot where Hayne just has a spell to kill it.
Right. And he does. So Lightning Strike on the Courser. Seeker goes up to 3/3, which is enough to finish off the Courser and survive the fight. Second Seeker comes down.
Well, having a second Courser makes that block a lot easier to make.
Sure, now you soaked up essentially 6 damage.
Yeah, here's where life gain's good. I mean, Hayne's got a lot of burn in his hand. It looks like he's got Stoke and Jeskai Charm, as well as a Dig Through Time. So this is a good hand. But Huang's still at a pretty high life total here. So
He hasn't been hit yet, has he?
yeah, I believe he's at 21 right now, which means that there's not a whole lot he has to fear. I mean, especially since he's got Sidisi coming up. So Hayne knows about that. So Hayne has incentive to perhaps even not attack, though I'd be surprised if he didn't attack. I think he probably sends here and then hopes that Huang doesn't block, perhaps.